Welcome to Staring into the Abyss. I'm your host, Richard Gerlach. With me, as always, is Vitlame Mist.
Yo, I am still alive.
She's alive, and Matt is MIA.
Yes.
So today is just me and Vitlame, and we're going to have a wonderful conversation about LGBT horror authors.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes, I agree.
Because, I don't know, I feel like we have Pride Month. We celebrate lots of LGBT authors in Pride Month, but I feel they don't get enough recognition, especially some of the older authors who people don't even know were LGBT.
Yeah, that's true. And I'm probably gonna, learn a couple of things from now.
Well, I'll toss one tidbit right now, actually.
All right.
You know who my favorite LGBT horror author is?
No.
Michael McDowell.
Oh.
He wrote The Elementals. He wrote Blackwater. And he also wrote the script for Beetlejuice.
No fucking way.
And he wrote the script. I think he wrote the script for Clue as well, or he wrote the novelization for Clue. His books aren't LGBT themed. They're more like Southern Gothics. But he was a man himself.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard that the book Elementals, it's everyone keeps recommending it to me.
It is one of my favorite haunted house novels.
Okay. Is it big? How big is it?
The audiobook I think was 8 hours.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I think the book's 200 something pages.
Okay, that's not a lot. Okay, that feels doable to me.
But I think he's really great with characterization. And he is, I just think he's a really wonderful author that a lot of people don't realize was gay. And he sadly passed away from AIDS in the 90s.
Oh no.
But Stephen King's wife actually helped finish his last book.
Really?
Yes.
Wait, is she an editor or something?
She was a writer, but I think she's published a book since the 80s.
Hmm.
The last thing she published was co-writing the final Michael McDowell book.
Huh.
But
I hope she's not being overshadowed by her husband.
I mean, honestly, Stephen King overshadows everybody.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And Tabitha King's books aren't in print anymore either, which is kind of sad because that's a whole different story we could go in on. But
yeah.
I'd love to read some of her stuff sometime. I just have to track it down.
Yeah.
But before we go into weekly recommendations, who's your favorite LGBT horror author, Vitlame?
My favorite is Hailey Piper.
Gotta love Hailey.
Yeah. She's just I love her prose. I love the ideas that just run around in her mind. And just all the stuff that she writes just really jumps at you. and it also just really stays with you right after you finish it.
I'm afraid to spend a day in her mind.
Yeah.
I love her work though. She puts out some of the best fiction, and some of it's really scary. She's one of the few authors to really get to me.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I found out she's doing sequels to
The Worm and His King.
Yes, and The Worm and His King was so good.
Yes.
So I'm excited to see where she takes that mythology next, because I'm so interested in seeing how that world develops.
Exactly, because when I was reading it, I kept thinking okay, this needs an expansion because you can do so much with the lore in this book.
Oh, 100%. But before we dive into even more authors, I think it's good to give a weekly recommendation. And I have discovered the weirdest show ever. Have you ever heard of Nathan For You?
No.
So there's a comedian, Nathan Fielder, and he had a comedy show called Nathan For You. It's kind of docu-series, kind of cringe, awkward, socially awkward comedy. And he'll perform these stunts in front of real people and kind of get their reactions. There's a clip from season 1 of the show that is kind of goes around the internet, which is he opens up, he's like, "Hello, my name is Nathan, this is Nathan For You. Today I'm going to do something on television that nobody has done before. I'm going to take these police grade handcuffs and handcuff myself to this steel frame. Then I'll have 90 seconds to pick these cuffs before, and then the camera pans over as he's walking. This mechanical robot pulls down my pants, and then he continues walking, exposing myself to this group of children. Then he continues walking even more, where an LAPD officer is waiting to arrest me for indecent exposure. And then he's like, you've seen people risk life or death on television before, but you've never seen anybody risk becoming a sexual predator.
No.
And like, that's kind of like it's just like weird, awkward comedy, but like, it's really funny. He started a new show on HBO that's called The Rehearsal. And it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Like, it's only 4 episodes out right now. It starts off where he posts a Craigslist ad where he's trying to find people who are having trouble wanting to have an awkward or serious conversation. And so this man, like the first episode is this man responds to this Craigslist ad. Nathan sends a group of people into this man's house. They map out the man's entire apartment. Then they map out the bar the man goes to for bar trivia night, and he creates sets that are exact replicas of these places. And then he hires actors to model, like, he hires one actor to interview his friend and then essentially become his friend for test conversations. And he models out this entire, like, test conversation of how the different ways that this could go. And the first episode is just him preparing this man to have this conversation, and all the conversation is the man lied about having a master's degree, so he's afraid to tell this person the truth that he never got his master's.
Huh.
But this is where it gets fucking weird. Episode 2 is a woman who wants to be a mother, and so he makes this like whole scenario where he moves her into like a fake house and they get a baby for her to raise, and they try to find like another person willing to become her partner in the experiment to see if she can be compatible with somebody to like raise a child together.
This is like
And
a taken from Parks and Rec episode.
this is like Sendoshi, New York meets the Truman Show.
Oof.
Because
That's
like
it sounds so cringe.
literally like by episode 4, and this is where this is where I left off, and it's kind of spoilers for the show. In episode 4, Nathan goes to coach actors on how to model after people to have these conversations with people. And then he realizes he doesn't know what it's like to be an actor. So he hires somebody to be himself, and he becomes a student in the classroom. And like by the end of the episode, like you don't know what's real and what's fake anymore.
What? Okay, so
Like,
it's like meta on meta on meta.
yeah, like there's a part in the last episode where he has to call the EMTs because something bad happens, and the EMTs that show up were actors from his acting class. And like you don't know like who's a real person and who's an actor. And I think the whole thing is gonna become like an existential crisis on like Nathan Fielder himself. Uh, it is
So
fuck
basically, it's gonna leave the viewers like, okay, am I in the Matrix or not?
honestly like it's leaving me like that right now. Like it's honestly one of the craziest things I've ever seen on TV. Um, I don't know.
I bet it's not recommended to watch it high.
Honestly, it could make it funnier, or it could make it be like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yeah, exactly. It
Like,
could be tripping real bad.
there's like one part where like he comes home after being away for 9 years. No, he's not really away for 9 years, but they pretend it's 9 years. He comes back, and his son, which was a baby before, is now like a teenager, and like, but it's still supposed to be an actor. And it's like trying to be like, well, what if you were really my dad and you were gone for 9 years, I'd fucking hate you. So let's redo your introduction again. And then like they just start doing all this crazy shit. And I just don't know like where the show's gonna go. but it's just crazy what like how they're playing with like reality and how they're like modeling after these characters. Um, I think I think there's a guy in episode 2. I think he was a real person. Because he was like, he showed up on Nathan Fielder's Facebook group, and he was a complete asshole in the show, and everybody was trolling him. And apparently, his family has said he's just like how he is in real life, as he was on the show. So, like, I think at least one person has been a real person, and I don't know who else is real or acting in the show. Um, it's I don't know how we thought of this fucking idea, but it's insane, and I love it, and I want more of it. But I'm kind of afraid to like see how far this goes because I'm at a
Yeah.
show where like I don't know what's scripted, I don't know what's not scripted, I don't know who's an actor, I don't know who's not an actor. I don't think Nathan knows who's an actor, who's not an actor anymore.
Yeah, he probably is keeping everyone in the loop.
But
Or
like,
out or out of the loop.
or out of the loop, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, what I want to see how he made this show because it's fucking wild.
I
Uh,
know. I wonder if like people are getting like envelopes and just say like, okay, you're an actor. You're not. Stay, but stay with us.
like, what was it like the third episode, the fourth episode is when he is coaching the acting class, and he like gives the student the role of the teacher so he can become the student, and him and the student effectively trade lives where they move into each other's apartments. So like he moves into the student's apartment and takes up the student's job to like see what it's like to be him for a day. And I'm like,
That's so fucked up.
it's fucking weird and like morally dubious, but I love it. It's fucking crazy. I I started reading a giant epic fantasy book.
Oh, okay. Is it an indie book or?
It's mainstream. It's by Tor.
Okay.
It's called The First Binding by R. Virdi. He's a Indian author,
Okay.
and it's about.
Does it have like like Indian mythology or?
It seems to have some of that. It's pretty much about this. The front flap just says all legends are born of truths and just as much lies. These are mine. Judge me for what you will, but you will hear my story first. I buried the village of Ampor under a mountain of ice and snow. Then I killed their god. I've stolen old magics and been cursed for it. I started a war with those who walked before mankind and lost the princess I loved and wanted to save. I've called lightning and bound fire. I am legend and I am a monster. My name is Ari, and this is a story of how I let loose the first evil.
Okay. All
And it
right.
just opens with this man appearing to town, and he's a storyteller, and like he's talking about the magic of stories. You know, everywhere you can find a story, and he's getting prepared to tell his story to the people in this town when they get together, like the first night, and the rest of the book is kind of him telling his story as it goes back and forth between him performing it at like this pub then to like flashbacks to like what's happening in like his life's past story. And it gets to the point where like you don't know if he's lying, if he's telling the truth. Like it's kind of this idea of the power of narrative. It's
So
really
it's like drawing from the same inspiration like The Name of the Wind.
I like it better than Name of the Wind personally.
Okay.
Um, my main issue with Name of the Wind is you don't really know if it's an unreliable narrator. A lot of people think it is because there's no way he can do all like the great things he says he did.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You have no textual evidence to prove if he's lying or not.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true. Yeah.
but like it's kind of that same style where like it's a story within a story, kind of like that framing device.
Mm-hmm.
But this feels a bit more epic, and this feels I kind of like the whole Indian like aspect to it as well because it just makes it feel a bit different. And
So is he drawing from like also Indian culture, like the caste system and stuff like that?
Nothing of the cast system has shown up yet, but it probably will eventually.
Hmm.
I know the author himself is Indian, like he lives in India.
Yeah, that's also interesting
Yeah,
because you don't really see a lot of that. But I'm glad that we're seeing like an absurd, like an uprising in these kind of, these kind of stories, like from other cultures than white.
yeah, and like I mean, he's written books before, but they mostly kind of been like sci-fi or kind of like action thriller. This is his like first stab at epic fantasy, and it
Nice.
got published at Tor. Apparently Jim Butcher was like really helped him get this book published too.
Oh,
His
that's
like
nice of him.
dedication to Jim Butcher in the beginning, and it's honestly like I compare it to Name of the Wind because there's a sort of the story framing device,
Hmm.
but like it feels a bit darker. It feels a bit more like urgent than Name of the Wind does. But
Oh,
that being
okay.
said, Patrick Rothfuss has such like beautiful writing that take kind of takes away Name of the Wind for itself as well. Like it's hard to
Hmm.
top Rothfuss's prose.
Yeah.
Um, but Virdi so far is really really good, and it's like an 800-page book, so
Holy shit.
it'll
I'm
take me.
I, I'm I'm sure it's gonna take you a couple of days though.
Yeah, only a couple days.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it would take me a decade.
What do you have for recommendations, Vitlame?
Well, I managed to, I managed to see Nope, like the other day.
Oh, what did you think of Nope?
I loved it. It was so clever. Like everything was so cleverly done. And I mean, there's not much not like about this movie. I love the characters and the acting. My one of my favorites actually was Angel. I did not expect him to be so endearing. He was so endearing. I was like, he just barged into the movie and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be in this movie and I'm gonna be a important character. And I just loved. Well, the thing is, if I tell what I thought was really clever, it might be a little bit of a spoiler.
I think most
So
people listening to the podcast have seen the movie by now.
okay.
But
So for the
spoiler. Fast
yeah,
forward about 2 minutes.
yes, what I really loved about the ship being an alien itself, I thought it was so clever, and I wish a lot of people would do something similar to that when it comes to like alien invasion movies. And I also just really thought I just really really loved it when it was expanding, and when you looked at it and he was like, it actually looks like a weather balloon.
Yeah.
And it was like, I thought it was so clever because, even though if people would get pictures of it, a lot of the conspiracy theories or the deniers would just say, yeah, it's just a weather balloon. And I'm just like, oh, that's so clever. I just, mad props to Jordan Peele. Like, he wrote this. It was amazing.
What did you think of the chimp attack scene?
Oof. It was really heavy handed.
That's a hard scene to watch.
It was a really hard scene to watch, yeah, and I had to like a little bit step back and think like, why was this scene so important? And I think I came to the conclusion that it was basically just to show people that even though you have tame animals, they can still be unpredictable.
Well, I'd say it's the way I see it can be one of three things. I like your take on it. I also saw that as kind of like the whole spectacle, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Gordy attacking the crew of this TV show is a spectacle, and it has drawn lots of attention to Jupe.
Yeah.
And at the same time, Jupe is looking for a way to recapture this spectacle. And
Mm-hmm.
so we have like these two characters in the movie where like the family who runs like Haywood Hollywood's horses,
Mm-hmm.
those people are trying to like use the UFO to get them profit to help them, which in a way
Mm-hmm.
is not exploiting it. But the whole idea between Jupe is he wants to use this UFO as a spectacle.
Yeah. That's
Like,
what he had with this Star Lasso spectacle or
yeah.
exhibition or something.
So like the Haywood Hollywood Horses people respect it more than Jupe does, because
Yeah,
Jupe wants to exploit it for
yeah,
his celebrity.
yeah,
And it also gets the idea that he learned the wrong lessons from this traumatic event.
yeah. He did. Yeah, I
Like,
agree with that.
it comes
You
into being.
you kind of like feel bad for him at the beginning, like he's suffering from this post-traumatic stress disorder from this ordeal, what happened to him when he was a kid, and you see that and you feel bad for him at the same time. But then when you discover that he's actually using the fucking horses as bait,
Yeah.
then I was like, nope, nope, no redemption for you, my man.
Well,
It's like
it's
you're a bad guy.
also like I kind of see the movie too as it's kind of a love letter to the people who make movies happen.
Yes.
Like all the heroes in this movie are the behind the scenes people.
Yes, yes.
The
I
crew.
yeah, I know. It was like a like Jordan Peele's love letter to them.
Yeah, you have the animal wranglers, you have the tech
Hmm.
guy, you have the cinematographer,
You
you have
and you have the director.
the director, you have the people that like make movies happen.
Yeah,
And then with Jupe, you have the celebrity,
yeah,
who's the spectacle, who's what people go to see.
yeah,
And spoiler, Jupe gets killed off like halfway through the movie.
yeah,
Um, but the idea with that is just kind of like it just shows the celebrity comes and goes. But
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's kind of like a trend. It goes.
yeah, so that's kind of how I see the movie, and also the whole Gordy scenes to me kind of symbolize that, especially with Jupe's character,
Yeah,
because it kind of shows us he'll learn the wrong lessons. It
yeah,
also ties into the wild animal thing, where like the only reason why Gordy didn't attack Jupe is because Jupe showed it like respect. He didn't look it in the eyes. He looked
mm-hmm.
at he wasn't making contact with it, and that was able to calm it down and show to the chimpanzee it had superiority over
Yeah, and
over
yeah, and also he, just stayed still. And you usually when you're like in this kind of situation, it is best for you sometimes to stay still
Yep.
and just not move at all. And you saw it with one of the crew member. He was just, running around screaming and stuff. So of course the animal being agitated itself would react in that way.
I do love the bloody paw fist bump though.
Oh my God. It was like I would have been petrified, but yeah, I understand that, at the end, like he recognized Yubi and he's like, hey, we're still friends, right?
did you see did you see for the post credit scene?
Oh, there was a post-credit scene, wasn't it?
It's very short.
Is it
It's
Oprah? Did they go on
no
Oprah?
no, it's an advertisement for a recreation of the disaster at Jupe's Ranch.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Damn, because at the end of the movie, we were just walking down and we were talking about it, and then my husband like, do you think it's gonna be a post credit movie? And I was like, I don't know. This is not Marvel, This shouldn't be a post credit movie. I was like, yeah, I know, but I mean, if there were, I bet it's gonna be about Oprah because they kept talking about Oprah the entire time, and actually, I feel cheated now that they didn't do a post credit scene with them being on Oprah.
Yeah, it's an advertisement for a recreation of Jupe's Ranch disaster to kind of show like nobody learned their lesson from all of this.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like how humans are.
Yep. I think it's a really good movie. I thought it was really intense. The
It
scene
was.
when you see like the UFO digesting the people was super fucked.
Oh yeah.
And then you just
It
hear their
yeah.
screaming.
Yes. And also just seeing, the house being like dripped on by blood and remains. I was like, okay, that's horrifying. And
I
it was
was
just it was just oh good. I also just loved OJ's character, when he was in the truck and he was just looking up and saw it. He's like, nope, 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 staying in the car, not
yep.
going out. And I was like, yep, that's how I would feel. I'd
Ah,
do the exact same thing.
it's such a good movie. I also like the cinematographer and how he talked in like code.
Yes.
Like that scene of him just saying like, "Oh, purple people eater, don't eat me."
Mm-hmm. It was
Like,
so good, and just like yeah. When you mentioned cinematography, I just loved how the camera was always following the spaceship, which is what we would do.
yeah.
So
Uh,
you're kind of being in that view's eye.
it's some of the best nighttime footage I've ever seen shot for a movie.
Yes. It's just
Like,
yeah, it's just a really really good movie. If people haven't seen Nope yet, they definitely should. It's so good. And I'm just really looking forward to what Jordan Peele is going to bring up next because he's bringing it.
he is. I feel the movies he directs are a lot better than most of the movies he like produces.
Yeah, I
Um,
agree.
but I think like if you have him writing the script with him directing, I wasn't the biggest fan of Us. I don't think Us is a bad movie. I just think like its metaphor is very
Mhm.
muddled,
Mhm.
and I feel like the story is kind of a mess. Like I typically don't get caught up on plot holes, but there's like so many plot holes in Us that like my brain can't stop from picking it apart.
Okay.
But
We need to have a discussion on what kind of plot holes that was at some
but
other time because
but like
I don't think I detected them.
how are people putting the rabbits in the basement? And how were those people, the tethered, able to survive just on eating the rabbits alone for like 30 years underground? And
All right.
like that's where my mind kind of goes with that one.
Yeah. I know.
But
Yeah.
I think the movie's really well shot. I think
Yes.
it's fantastically acted. It's
Yes.
just
And
like that aspect of it falls apart for me.
yeah, it also has a really great soundtrack.
Oh yeah, it does. I still think Get Out's his best movie. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but like Nope is definitely like his attempt at a Spielberg film, and I think he succeeded with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Also, this marks 2 weeks in a row we talked about Nope on this podcast.
Yeah, I kind of figured you guys were talking about it last week.
And anything else from last?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure you guys talked about Prey last week as well.
We did not that. Okay, we might have talked about Prey. I saw Prey was really fucking good.
Mm-hmm. So good. I really liked it. But if I were to like rank the Predator movies, like what I feel like were my favorites, I would always put Predator 2 number one, and then Predator 1 at number two, and Prey at number three.
See, for me, it would go Predator, Prey, Predator Two.
All
Uh,
right.
I think a lot of people Predator Two gets a lot of hate, and I don't think it deserves the hate that it gets.
It does not. That movie is so fucking good.
But like, yeah,
It's so intense. It's like it doesn't let up at all. Like the intensity is like the entire movie.
oh yeah, no, it's honestly it's a wonderful movie. Like I like Predator 2 a lot. For me, I saw Predator when I was like a kid, so like a lot of it kind of sticks out to me.
True. Yeah.
That being said, like Shane Black, who wrote Predator and he actually stars in that movie too, like he has a lot of misogynistic jokes that don't really carry off too well in like modern day anymore.
No, it doesn't. Yeah.
That being said, for the time they're pretty funny. I think the machismo of Predator is really funny because as
Mm-hmm.
well because you have these really macho buff dudes who are like ready to fuck shit up and their
Mm-hmm.
thing is fucked up.
Yeah.
And like I think that works really well. Whereas like Predator 2, it's more kind of like urban city, you got the big urban sprawl, the predators hunting people in the city.
Yeah,
Um
but I think it's also just like it's also being like portrayed as a particularly difficult challenge for the predator because this is an environment that he is not at all accustomed to.
yes.
And it definitely shows that he is having difficulty with this. Like he tries to adapt, but at the same time, because there's so many people there, he kind of is at a disadvantage.
One of
Whereas in Predator One, he kind of like knew the gist of the jungle, and he kind of like had adapted to that environment, whereas the soldiers did not.
we one thing one scene I loved in Prey is when the fur trappers, the French fur trappers,
Hmm.
when they went to shoot at the predator and then they had to reload their muskets.
I was laughing so hard at that scene. I was like, guys, ditch the guns and just run. Like it's useless.
And like I don't know, the
That
movie's
that bear scene was phenomenal.
Yeah. The movie was really well acted. It was really well shot. I can't believe
Yeah.
like Dan Batchenberg, he's the director of Prey. It's
Hmm.
hard for me to believe that that's only his second movie.
Yeah,
Like,
he did 10 Cloverfield Lane, and this is one of my favorite movies.
well, like he the only other thing he's really done besides that is he did the Black Mirror episode with Russell Crowe's son
Oh.
when they put like the computer chip in his head
Yeah,
and
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
horror game. That's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the really other thing he's done besides a couple other TV show episodes.
I mean, I think he's gonna be a rising star, hopefully.
I want to see him do more projects because like 10
Mm-hmm.
Cloverfield Lane is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Prey was fucking fantastic. The
Mm-hmm.
dude's cinematography is on point.
Yes.
Um,
It really, and he also managed to capture like tension well.
oh, very
Like
much so.
he knows what tension is, and like how you saw that also in this movie. Like if you're comparing, Prey and you disregard Prey, Predator 1 and Predator 2, and if you go through the other Predator films, you can see that there is basically no tension there.
Yeah.
Like they're just, they're thrust into this, and they're already gearing up, and they're like, oh, there's something hunting us, we know what's happening, and it's like, yeah, we know, so just just sit down there and let him kill you, we know you're gonna die. What Whereas in, Prey, you can feel that tension again. You're like, okay, something is hunting them, we know what's hunting them, but they don't. And that we're given these kind of examples of what the predator is, expecting to do, and you kind of feel this this dread for that not happening to the natives.
Yep.
I just,
Ah,
yeah, I love that. It was just really good. Like the one who played Amber Midthunder's brother, he was really good.
oh, he was fantastic.
He was a really good, and I went on IMDb and I just checked if he was playing and everything and anything else. So that was his first movie.
Yeah, and he killed it.
Yeah, it was amazing.
The all like I loved how resourceful like the our main character was in this movie too. Like she was fucking great.
Hmm.
Um, the showdown at the end between her and the Predator was fucking badass.
Yes, and just shows her, like, even though they don't depict her as a great hunter, because she's such a great tracker, and she like knows, th- I kind of want to say the theory of hunting. She managed to utilize all of that to defeat him.
Did you catch the connection to Predator 2 in this by the way?
No.
Oh, so you know the flintlock pistol that she gets at the end of the movie?
Oh shit! Yeah,
That's the same pistol that the Predators give the guy as a trophy at the end of Predator 2.
yeah, that they give Danny Glover.
Yeah.
Oh shit! That's awesome.
If
The
also in the credits, there's a whole thing of like wall paintings that kind of tell the story a bit further on, and at the end they have a painting of three Predator ships coming back to Earth.
Of course, yeah. I mean that makes
So
sense.
it's kind of like the Predators came back and fucked shit up, but then like it kind of goes back a bit more. But I like the connection between everything was really well done and put together.
Oh,
Um,
nice. Yeah, I really love that. What else? What else was going to say? I think the only thing that I can, it's just my personal gripe is that I didn't necessarily like how the design of the Predator was. I mean, I'm not saying about his helmet or anything like that. I know that this is supposed to be like kind of like a precursor to what their actual armor is. Like this is like basically a native, like you know, a primitive predator, so to speak.
yeah.
But just when he took off his mask, and I was like, you look you look weird. I can't really explain. I felt like his face was more denser and more like how can I explain this? This didn't feel like the pussycat face that you that you can kind of see in Predator 2 and in Predator 1. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I think again, I think that might have something to do with this being a primitive predator, maybe. So maybe they, when they finally go back in Predator 1, they have evolved because you can definitely see in the design that he doesn't have his signature dreadlocks.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the she fucked their shit up so much they had to like work on their technology and be like, fuck
Hmm.
these humans, like we gotta come back later.
Yeah, I mean because that would explain, for example, why in Predator 1 that he would have the self-destruct bomb.
Yeah, because they didn't have that bomb back in this first
No,
one.
no, they didn't. But
But
overall, I really loved that movie. It was really good.
oh, it was fantastic. I loved it.
And I'm happy. I'm happy the dog didn't die. I was really worried.
No animal death. Well, there was
Well,
animal death. The bear
there were
died.
there were two or three admirable deaths that I did not. I closed my eyes on that. I didn't want to see that. But I know what
It
what
was a
happens.
CG bear.
I know, but for people, you're giving me the same goddamn explanation like what that my husband does, but it's still not the same for me who loves animals, fictional or not.
I mean, to be fair, like when dogs die and stuff, that always kind of bothers me. But
Mm.
like other animals don't bother me that much. It's just
Are,
dogs. I'm a big dog person, so
yeah, just any kind of animals. Like I probably have mentioned it before. Like even when I'm watching movies like that are like creature features, that have the animal as the enemy. I'm petrified of the animal in the entire movie. But as soon as they get killed, I'm like, no. It's like it's like when I was watching Anaconda, and I was just like, I'm petrified of that snake. It was huge and it ate people, and I was like, oh, this is horrible. But then when it caught on fire and it gave out this wail, I'm like, oh god, the poor snake. So yeah, I have empathy for this. It's so weird.
all right. Well, I think this is a good turning point to go over to our LGBT authors.
Yes.
And I say one of the first big shoutouts that I want to give, and this is kind of my introduction to kind of LGBT horror,
Hmm.
is Clive Barker. But
Yes. I
everyone
mean,
knows
come
Clive Barker,
on.
so it's
I
not
mean,
like
who?
we're digging.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like I think it's also important to recognize, like without Clive Barker, we wouldn't have people like Eric LaRocca, who
Hmm.
is, I'd argue, is a lot like Clive Barker for the current generation of LGBT horror writers.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yes, you definitely see that like Clive Barker is a definite influence in his works,
Yeah.
especially with the with the poetic introduction when it comes to the Cenobites.
Oh yeah, and also like the visceral violence of his work as
Mm-hmm.
or their work as well definitely ties back to Clive Barker's work too.
Yeah,
Like like LaRocca does a fantastic job mixing the sexual, mixing the violent, mixing the
mixing,
nihilist.
yeah, and just mixing the grotesque as well,
Yeah,
because
and
Clive Barker is really good at the grotesque.
and so like I would say like we can trace a lot of like our queer horror now back to Clive Barker.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, he is kind of like I wouldn't say foundation, but he's one of the pillars.
yeah, I mean, I'd say him and Billy Martin. Billy Martin professionally used to publish as Poppy Z Bright before
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he became the trans man.
Yeah.
But that being said, he still keeps the Poppy Z Bright books as Poppy Z Bright, and he
Yeah.
has no issue with like referring to that name. But I'd say like Poppy was another really big foundation, especially for like where Clive Barker's books were a bit more kind of subtly gay and
Mm-hmm.
like subtly different. Poppy's books had bisexual characters, had
Mm-hmm.
trans characters, had gay characters. They were fucking all the time. Tons of fucking, tons of gore, tons of fucked up shit. Um,
I regret to say that I have yet to read Poppy C. Bright's books, but I Exquisite Corpse is on my read list. I need
Exquisite
to read that.
Corpse is really good.
Yeah.
We covered one of Bright's stories earlier on the podcast. I forget the name right now, but it's pretty much a riff on Lovecraft's The Hounds or Lovecraft's
Ooh.
The Hound, which is like he Poppy took that story and made it super fucking like fucked up.
I
Like
mean, yeah.
there's a bunch of necrophilia in the story. There's a bunch of gay sex in the story. It's like someone took a Cure music video and just like added necrophilia and added like more gay sex. And that was the Bright story. It was a really great riff on Hound though. Um,
I love it when people riff on Lovecraft stories.
it was also a bit before people were more making commentary about Lovecraft's racism though. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think that's more of a modern take about Lovecraftian stuff. But even
Yeah.
like modern takes, like back in the '90s, this was still cutting edge for the '90s. And another like I'll for me, this is my last pillar author who
Mm-hmm.
I'll not, but Caitlin R. Kiernan. She's also kind of more in the Lovecraft mode of horror writing, but like she was one of the first like big trans horror writers
Oh,
back in the '90s.
okay.
Her stories don't so much deal with being trans, but her stories sometimes feature like lesbian relationships, gay characters. Her stories are very kind of like take Lovecraft and add a whole bunch of goth, and you have Caitlin R. Kiernan. Her work is wonderful. Like
I need to check that out again. Again, basically, for your for listeners here, again, I need to stress out the fact that living here in Iceland, I was not giving a lot of opportunities to read a lot of horror books back in the day. So the only thing that I was given access to was Stephen King, uh, and at times it was really poorly translated, and Goosebumps. That was basically it. And for me, because I had grown up watching a lot of horror films, Goosebumps just wasn't cutting it for me. So for this is just as much an educational thing for you listeners as it is for me, because I am discovering still a lot of great horror books thanks to Rich and my buddies here.
I would recommend checking out she has a collection called The Very Best of Caitlin Kiernan.
Okay.
Uh, it's a fantastic collection of short stories and novellas.
Okay, I
Uh,
need to definitely need to check that one out, especially because you mentioned goth, and I'm like my
yeah,
inner goth because I'm
stories are
kind of perked
very,
up.
very gothy. She has a character that she has a bunch of short stories about called Alabaster, and Alabaster is like super fucking goth. Also,
Are we talking about South Park goth or
oh no, like she has like black leather clothes, flowing white long hair, and Alabaster
nice?
all about just like hunting down some fucking demons and getting shit back to normal.
Nice, nice, nice.
But like I consider, even though I wouldn't consider her stuff like explicitly like gay or like trans, just the fact that she was a trans writer publishing horror back in the '90s is like paved the way for so many people to come after her.
I can imagine,
Uh,
yeah.
But like I'd say like she would also be a really great like pillar. But with these pillars that we have with like Caitlin R. Kiernan, you could also say Michael McDowell, you could say Clive Barker, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
say Poppy Z. Bright. These paved the way for some of the best writers we have writing today.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
we mentioned Eric LaRocca, we mentioned Haley Piper.
Yeah.
Who else? Who to you? Who else is kind of some of the big hitters for LGBT horror?
Mark Allen Gunnels.
Oh, his stuff's really good.
Yeah, it's really, really good. I like, and I love how he's still like he's really championing forward with his books, and he's always trying to say like, "Hey guys, read more LGBTQ horror books. I have some, and you should definitely check it out." And I did, and I'm like, "Yep, your stories are good.
Oh
Definitely
yeah.
worth checking out."
Have you ever read Aaron Dries?
No.
Oh, fantastic! Like he's from Australia. He's a gay writer. His stuff is fantastic.
Okay.
I kind of compare him to Clive Barker meets Jack Ketchum.
Oh shit. So extreme queer horror?
Yeah,
Damn.
like uh, I'd recommend either starting with House of Sighs, which is about a woman who hijacks a bus at gunpoint and holds the bus hostage to try to create a new family for herself.
Oh, that's
It
fucked up.
is it's really fucked up. He also has another story called The Fallen Boys, which is about a father who watches his son commit suicide at a shopping mall and realizes that his son had been talking to a stranger online to convince him to do these things as the father tries to hunt this man down and demand to know why he made his son kill himself. Yeah, it's very happy stuff. He also has A Place for Sinners, which has a character who is wants to transform themselves into a shark, and they begin carving their own teeth to make their teeth like shark-like to bite people.
What?
So Aaron Drez is great stuff. I'd say for him, the his most queer story would probably be Dirty Heads. Dirty Heads is a cosmic horror novella. It's also a coming of age novella, and it's about kind of this queer kid coming of age. And the story can be seen as this metaphor between like him trying to hide his queerness kind of coming out, and like kind of the destructive force of trying to hide something for as long as some people do.
Okay. All right.
Um, it's like his stuff has a lot of heart, but it's also really fucking visceral.
Well, I mean, I love a good visual story, so I definitely need to check that one out.
Also, one author who I like a lot is I actually have to re-look up her name real quick. So you go next, May, and I'll get my next.
Yeah. I just want to go back to I'm talking about Haley Piper because, like I probably have mentioned on the podcast, I'm probably her number one fangirl on at least in Iceland. um, and I just finished reading her Bram Stoker Award winning novel, Queen of Teeth.
How was it?
It was so good.
Was it very
It
tentacly?
Yes, so much. Like it and like it really drew elements like from Clive Barker, definitely. And I also, when I was reading it, like the further I got into the story, I just loved the Akira vibes that he got from it. Like
Yeah.
it drew heavily from Akira, which is actually one of the first anime that I watched when I was a kid. Definitely
You,
I don't recommend watching it as a kid because it fucked you up.
yeah, I saw that when I was like 8,
Yep.
and I remember the hospital scene when the
Yep.
stuffed animals are bleeding milk everywhere,
Yep.
and I had nightmares for like a week after that.
Yep. I remember like the scene when he's bloating up in the stadium and he's just eating everything. I was like, what am I watching? This is not Pokemon. But I
They
still loved it. It's still ingrained in me. And after that, I was like, I went to search for similar kind of anime when I was a kid.
well, that's
And
that that the Haley Piper novel has some Akira vibes.
yeah, I just loved it. And it also has like this queer love. There are two, like, it's kind of like lesbian love. And the main character, she also like being kind of like a victim of, how should I say, like laboratory studies, at least. Like it's kind of like a genetic mutation that she suffers from. And they're classified as chimeras because they, at one point in their lives, when they are getting these kind of yearly injections from this company, like this pharmaceutical company, um, something happens to them and they kind of transform into something. Sometimes they grow a tail or like get scales, or in what was her, yeah, or in Yaya's experience, she got teeth growing out of her vagina.
Oh, vagina detention, nice.
Yeah, with vagina dentata. And it was just, I loved it. And I also just loved the fact that she also like kind of gave the vagina dentata kind of like a personality, or like it was like it had a soul. It was kind of like an entity in itself.
Yeah.
Like it knew, like it had thoughts and it had wants and desires, and you saw that. And I just loved how this, in the end, they kind of merged together. Like Yaya and Haley named it Magenta because it was like really like pink and slimy and writhing and like with teethy tentacles. It was just everything put into this, and I'm like, I love this. Like, if you want to get your tentacle porn on, you can watch this. You can read this book because she doesn't shy away from the sex scenes as well,
This book sounds
and
very gooey.
it's really gooey, and I loved it. And I just loved the characterization of the characters, because you get the perspective of Yaya and Magenta, and then you also get the perspective of Doc, the person who is working in the pharmaceutical company, and who is kind of put in charge of trying to retrieve Yaya. But but at the time, they kind of get entangled together, and Doc, even though she doesn't want to admit it, she kind of develops feelings for her. And it's kind of like this crazy, sad love story right at the end. And the ending is just, I expecting the ending to go, I don't know how to say, I'm not really happily ever after, but kind of like the fact that that the monster would be stopped.
Yeah.
But Haley flips it on the other page, and she's like, "Nope, that ain't gonna happen." And I just love that. It's like it gave you a gut punch in the end, and you're like, "Oh, okay." It's like it was a bittersweet ending, which I love about horror. I love when horror gives like these bittersweet endings.
Oh, like I think Haley is one of the best at endings in like horror.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, she's able to write really great narratives and wrap them up in such a way that I'm like, how the fuck did you do that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we talked about her when she came on, and we were talking about your mind is a terrible thing. She managed to do exactly that with her story as well.
Totally.
You were just sitting there, and you were like, whoa, damn, shit. And then you're just sitting there, and you're like thinking about your life, and you're like, huh, got a lot of questions running through my mind now. What should I do something about that?
No, like she's just a wonderful writer.
Yeah, one of my favorite short stories is her the final resuscitation at the of the sup of the final dinner or something like that. I'm really bad with
Oh,
titles,
that is a
but
great story.
yeah, it was a great story. And again, it was also nominated for a Stoker, and I'm like, yeah, I mean, of course it was, because it was like it still stayed with you. And again, you can also see the inspiration she draws from Clive Barker, with the Cenobite kind of type carriage that the people that are doing this kind of eating the final supper thing.
Totally.
And I just love the she has a way with describing things that really just sticks with you.
And her imagery too is just
Yes.
worlds.
Yes, like in your mind is a terrible thing. I loved the Cathedral of Gore.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Yeah, you could picture it, and it was terrifying to picture.
I loved in what was it, The Woman is Kings, just how she described like kind of the different levels of the underground as her character just went further and further deeper,
Mm-hmm.
and how like it all morphed around her. Like that was just really fucking cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
One of the authors I was going to mention that I forgot the name was Carmen Maria Machado.
Okay.
She only has two books out: a short story collection called Her Body and Other Parties, and a memoir called In the Dream House.
I've
And
heard of it.
Her Body
It just came out, right?
came out a couple years ago, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Her Body and Other Parties, it's a fantastic short story collection. You can read one of the stories for free online called The Husband Stitch,
Okay.
which
Yeah, yeah.
is,
It's a short story.
yeah, which is kind of, the story The Yellow Ribbon with the girl who has the yellow ribbon tied around her neck?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So The Husband Stitch is kind of like her doing a riff on that story.
Oh,
Um,
interesting.
but like, I wouldn't really say that story is explicitly like queer, but like it has definitely like themes of that. But throughout the story, throughout the collection, you definitely have stories that are like very like explicitly queer. And
Mm-hmm.
she herself is a queer woman. But the husband stitch is about this woman who marries a man, and the main premise of the whole story is like she is never given her own choice in her life. Everyone else always makes decisions for her, and she has no agency. Like the name the husband stitch is the whole
Yeah.
idea. It's like after a woman gives birth, the doctor can tighten her up downstairs, so it's tighter for the husband to have sex with her. And like in the story, like the doctor hints at doing this, but our main character, the woman, has no control over like her own agency or her own say in the situation. And throughout the whole story, the husband wants to take the yellow ribbon off her neck. And she says no, she says no, she says no. At the end of the story, she looks at her husband and she says, "You may take the ribbon." And the husband takes the ribbon off, and then her head falls off. And like the only time she's given agency in the end of the story is making the decision to end herself.
Oh,
Because
okay.
throughout the rest of the story, she has had no agency. It is a wonderful story that like I feel as a man, I'm never gonna fully understand it. And to be 100% honest, but even so, it is a wonderful story. We actually covered this story on Abyss during our first year when Max Booth came on,
Oh, really?
and he's the one who brought her to my attention. And her memoir in the Dream House, it is a memoir that is going as her going over uh, an abusive relationship that she was in with another woman. And each chapter in the Dream House is written in the form of a type of story. So every chapter is like a different story genre. So like one chapter is written as a gothic. One chapter is actually written as a choose your own adventure.
Really?
One chapter is written as a romance. One chapter is written as like epistolary. One chapter is written like she goes over all the different like literary genres in trying to write this story about this abusive relationship that she was in for a long time. It's fucking harrowing. It is one of the one of those harrowing memoirs I've read. It's fantastic, but it's not an easy read.
No, probably not. You kind of have to be in like in a certain mind space for that.
Yeah,
Headspace.
but I honestly I really do recommend it because it is fantastic. It's just not an easy read. She also has a comic book that's also really great called The Low Low Woods that was put out through Joe Hill has a little thing through DC called Hill House Comics,
Mm-hmm.
and Low Woods is part of Hill House Comics.
Oh, okay.
And that was also a really fantastic horror comic. So
Nice.
I definitely highly recommend if you haven't checked out Carmen Maria Machado, I highly recommend it because she's doing some really fantastic work.
I mean, this is something like this is adding to my like ever growing list of things I need to read.
Yeah, I mean my list
I mean, if only I had like more hours in the day.
yeah, my list never ends. Like I
Yeah.
have too many I own too many books that I'm probably never going to be able to get to by the time I die. So
Yeah, same here. I'm gonna be entombed by books.
me too.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. Um, I would also recommend, even though like she isn't particularly one of my favorites, but she is like one of the big. I wouldn't say big, but you would definitely know her name, like Mira Grant.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring up Mira Grant too. And again,
Yeah.
she's not one of my favorites either. But that
No.
being said, I think she does do a great job with queer representation.
Yes,
And
I
for her,
agree with
she's
that.
also a queer woman.
Yeah.
Um, but like, just like I love how her books just like embrace gay relationships, embrace like all different types of personalities. Her works are very inclusive, and not in
Mm-hmm.
a way where it feels like she's shoving it in your face, but
No.
in a way where it just feels very natural for these people to exist in the book.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, exactly. That's more or less how I felt when I haven't read a lot of Mary Grant. The only stories that I read is the Mermaid series.
uh,
Uh,
news the News Flush series is pretty good.
I've heard good things about that. So I this is again on my list to see if I will like her more after reading that, because I didn't particularly like her, especially with her autism depiction wasn't really great in Into the Drowning Deep.
Yeah,
But
I can.
yeah, but if you want to talk about like how that is represented, and it's also done by a queer author, we should talk about Low Shelter Kill again.
I was just to bring out Low Kill Shelter
Yeah, Low Kill Shelter. Yeah, we should
because
definitely bring that one.
like the author's name always throws me. It's Porpentine Clarity Heartscape. Like Charity
Yes.
Heartscape. And like Low Kill Shelter has to be one of the best depictions of autism I've ever
Mm-hmm.
come across in a book. Like
Yes.
we have our main character who's a queer autistic person, and it's just handled so fucking well.
Mm-hmm.
And the book is so fucking gooey and weird and grotesque and wonderful. And it was brought to our attention by Eve Harms, who is another queer horror author, trans horror author, who writes very gooey stories.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. We should also talk. Recommend her because her stories are also really good and gooey.
She does like her slime.
She really does, and you just see it immediately on the cover. It's like you like the slime, girl. Like you do you, boo, but I'm here for it.
But Eve Harms is honestly a fantastic horror writer as well.
And she's just so nice. Also, I mean, when she was on the show with us, I loved her personality and I loved her voice. And I was like, you're so nice. I really like you.
I feel most of the people in the community are nice. At least the people coming on our podcast are nice.
Yes.
I can't speak of the people who haven't been on our podcast yet, but I'm sure there's plenty of nice people within our little community we have here.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what I'm trying to keep. Like, I want to keep this good community together and just kind of weed out the bad ones.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Um, also, I should also recommend another great queer author is Caitlin Starling.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you've read her stuff, but like Yellow Jessamine was a fantastic little like queer gothic story.
Mm-hmm.
She like everything I've read by Caitlin Starling is fantastic. It's also very aggressively queer and just wonderful.
I also heard really good things about Dead Space, but
That's
I'm not sure if Callie Wallace is queer or not.
I haven't read it, so I'm not too sure to comment on it. But
No. Yeah.
I've heard lots of great things about it, and I mean, like that being said, like non-queer people can write queer stories.
Mm-hmm.
They just so like a good example I can come across here is so a non-queer horror author, Brian Keene. Everybody knows Brian Keene,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
one of the big guys in the genre. He wrote a book called The Complex. And The Complex, one of the characters he writes in that book is a trans woman. And he handles it very well for a cis man. And part of it's because he did the work to hire sensitivity readers
Mm-hmm.
go over the book and give him feedback on the representation of this character.
Yes.
So like he managed to take the time and do it right. Um,
Yes. Because
not
that's how you're supposed to do it.
not many would do that, but I know he did that, and that gives me a bit more respect for him. And there's also like it's I don't know. I feel there's so many ways you can do queer like books wrong if you're not a queer writer, but I think Brian Keene did it right with that book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also another kind of more mainstream, but Christopher Rice and Rice's
Yes.
son.
Yes. Yes.
He's also a queer horror writer.
Yeah. I haven't like actually gone and see what he typically writes, but it's not in the same essence as his mother, is it? No.
No, he. I mean, he's writing a bit more like paranormal horror,
Mm,
like some thriller, psychological edges to it.
yeah.
But he's not doing the whole vampire
No, 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 no. But
romance stuff his mom
no,
was.
no. And I can imagine probably he doesn't. It didn't inherit Anne Rice's flowery prose.
No, not at all.
Yeah. Okay, that's good.
It's a bit different.
Okay. Yeah,
But
yeah. You should definitely. People should definitely check out her stuff.
another book an author I need to mention is Sarah Tanlinger.
Oh yes, 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 yes. Ah, I definitely need to read more from her stuff. Like I need to read her H.S. Holmes poetry collection.
Oh, her Holmes poetry collection is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean because I can imagine, how you managed to create like a beautiful poetry out of the most disgusting wild man alive.
I mean, yeah, he's definitely on the list. I don't think he's the most vile who ever lived. I think Albert Fish might be my.
True. Well, yeah, that's true. I agree on that. I definitely agree on that. Like Jesus Christ. But yeah, but he's more. H.S. Holmes is more legendary than Albert Fish. I don't think a lot of people know about Albert Fish.
I mean, H.H. Holmes built a fucking hotel to murder people in.
Exactly. He built a murder hotel.
Like he literally built a murder hotel. Like there's
Yeah.
no two ways around it. Like he built a hotel to murder people in.
Yeah, exactly.
One book I haven't read yet, but I want to, and I'm giving a shout out is have you heard of Hell Followed With Us by Andrew Joseph White?
No.
So it's a YA horror novel that has just recently come out. It is very trans. The premise says, "Prepare to die, his kingdom is near. 16-year-old trans boy Benji is on the run from the cult that raised him.
Yes, yes, yes,
Fundamentalist
yes.
sect that unleashed Armageddon and decimated the world's population. Desperately, he searches for a place where the cult can't get their hands on him, or more importantly, on the bioweapon they infected him with. But when
Yes.
Benji is cornered by monsters born from the destruction, Benji is rescued from a group of teens from the local Ascension LGBTQ plus center, known affectionately as the ALC. And the ALC's leader, Nick, is a gorgeous autistic and a deadly shot, and he knows Benji's darkest secret. The cult's bioweapon is mutating him into a monster deadly enough to wipe humanity from the earth once and for all.
This, yeah, I saw this one being released like a couple of months ago, and I need to read this one. This sounds amazing.
And the author himself is trans.
Yes.
So, like, I don't know, it sounds fucking awesome. I hear it's super gory, it's super fucked up.
I mean, when you compare monsters and cults, I'm there. Like this, like that's my jam. I have a lot of jams, but this is one of my jams.
I also love how like the YA market has a big corner for LGBT stories now.
Mm-hmm.
I think
I'm
that's
seeing I'm seeing a lot of good a lot of stories. Like I thought once you get to that age now, I'm 35, and you are kind of graduated from YA.
yeah.
I mean, at least for me, I kind of graduated after I finished reading The Hunger Games. After that, I was like, everything kind of is the same. You guys are following the same fucking formula, and it's just not fun.
I
But
mean, sometimes they put a twist to it, but for the most part, a lot of it can be cookie cutter. A
yeah,
lot of
exactly.
people copied the Hunger Games,
Yeah.
which
And
itself copied Battle Royale, even if she won't admit it.
yeah, I know. It's so funny that you won't admit it. I'm like, you either read it or you watched it, and you might maybe not remember it, but it was deep in your subconscious, and it bled into your pages.
Another like YA book I'd recommend too that I read that I liked a lot was Wilder Girls by Rory Power.
Okay.
Rory Power, I'm pretty sure she is bi or maybe a lesbian. I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not gonna like put
Mm-hmm.
words out there like that.
No.
But Wilder Girls is a fantastic post-apocalyptic lesbian YA horror novel.
Mm.
It has a lot of body horror, and it's pretty much about a world that's been destroyed by this thing called the tox that, as soon as it infects people, mutates their bodies into something strange and foreign and different. And
Hmm.
those two girls who run away from their school and they enter the woods that's all infected by the tox, and they're trying to wait for the cure to cure themselves as they're slowly being infected by the tox.
That sounds good.
It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really follow your typical YA formula. Like, it is a YA book, but it doesn't follow like the formula that we put a lot of YA books under, which I feel kind of hurts YA literature. And granted, I'm 34, so
Mm-hmm.
like I'm really not the target audience for a lot of this stuff.
No.
But that being said, like, a good book is a good book, no
Yeah,
matter
yeah, yeah. Yeah. And
what.
I would also recommend, if you are into YA, I've heard like the book The Cemetery Boys is doing phenomenal. And this is a book that I definitely need to read because it's people saying that it's really, really good. It's kind of, I think I've heard it was kind of like Supernatural meets Latino community or something like that.
That sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, another one I can shout out is Dread Nation by Justina Ireland, which is a coming of age zombie story set during the Civil War, and it
Yeah.
focuses on a sapphic romance in the middle of it as well. You listened to it, didn't you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
I thought those were
yeah.
pretty fun.
Yeah, yeah. I like Dread Nation. Did not like Deathless Divide.
Yeah, I didn't read Deathless Divide or listen to it. I listened to Dread Nation. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. Dread
Uh,
Nation was pretty good. I like that one. But
but
it was more like a sapphic slow burn though.
yeah, it's not so much focused on the zombies as it is focused more on just like the sapphic element of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, really, I just think like LGBT horror is just in a whole new phase right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool to see a lot of this stuff out there.
I definitely agree. We need more of those, and people, and we just not just us talking about it, like bookstores and other people who are in this publishing industry. They should definitely push more for this.
Oh, they definitely should. And I want to see more of it out there. And
Mm-hmm. Me too.
I want to push more of it. But like, we actually had so I work part-time at Barnes and Noble.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually just trashed the table last night, but we had an LGBT table that we had a bunch of like LGBT focused manga where like it was just the manga it wasn't offensively like, because you know how manga can be, especially with trans stuff. It was actually like good representation of LGBT relationships in manga, but
Mm-hmm.
just got rid of the table because we got like 180 copies of Chainsaw Man, and we know that's gonna sell. So we had to be like, all right, my coworker who actually set up the table, he gave it to me. He took the sign down and just went, "Gays don't matter anymore," and just put the table full of Chainsaw Man. But no, there's some wonderful gay trans like fiction coming up there, and I really just hope our audience listens to some of the recommendations that we have in this episode and find some really great books to read out of it.
Mm-hmm. I hope so too.
Also, do you know what we're discussing next week, Vitlame?
Nope. I've been on vacation, so I'm so out of the loop.
So we'll talk after the podcast then, once we
Mm-hmm.
finish recording, because I don't want to announce something that you might not be able to get. So
True.
we'll talk after.
Yeah.
But I really hope our audience has listened, taken some notes, and read some really great books from this podcast.
Yes. Read like you like I love Haley Piper's motto, make horror gay as fuck.
Yes.
And they should definitely, you know, live by that.
And there's gay horror that works for all different subgenres of horror. It's not
Yes.
just the same stuff over and over again. If you like
Yes.
Jack Ketchum, go for Aaron Dries. If you're more into
Mm-hmm.
weird cosmic stuff, Haley Piper, she has a
Mm-hmm.
lot of really great stuff. If you
Mm-hmm.
want weird extreme stuff, Eve Harms, she has you covered. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
if you want the heavy emotional stuff, like you have Carmen Maria Machado, she'll be able to get that done for you as well. There's actually
Mhm.
a fantastic story in that is Law and Order SVU, but like the city itself is morphing into something different as like the characters are kind of going through the cases. Um,
Oh,
it is a wonderful novella.
that sounds amazing.
But Vitlame, where can our listeners get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me on Twitter at VitlamayS.
And you can get in touch with me on Twitter at Rudy53088. And be sure also to follow Abyss with @IntoStaring. And this is Richard Gerlach saying keep staring.